Kaz, you in the call yet, hon?
Can you hear me yet? Oh, yay.
I loud and clear, baby cakes.
Cool. Awesome, man. Hey, look, it's great to be here, guys. I got my son's gaming headset on, so I'm not real sure how it's working, but anyway.
Working
good?
Great. Oh, it's working better than most mics I've heard, so yeah, you're in the game, baby.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Yeah, look, I'm actually really, really nervous about this. Not because I'm speaking in front of a bunch of people, but because I feel a really profound sense of responsibility about...
Yeah, welcome to the club.
Yeah, about my position. Because what happened to me, I still haven't integrated. It just kind of blew up on me at the time. I did have a choice. I told you, Kate, that I could have avoided the breathalyzer. And,
okay, I was going to say, Kaz, why don't you give everybody a quick update? Because I talked about it last night right at the tail end of the show before we went into recording. So why don't you just give everybody a quick breakdown on what happened and go from there. Give them the whole story.
All right, it's kind of long, but be warned. Well, Friday nights I do the... I do a basketball run. It's b-ball basketball, mate, not baseball. Anyway, for my son, he plays Friday night. So I'm on the way to a leisure center from my home, and I pass a breathalyzer set up on the other side of the road. So I look at it and I go, oh, that's interesting. Now, I know how to get around it coming back. Okay, so I don't have to pass through it. But I look at my son, and he knows about all this stuff. I've bored the crap out of my kids with all this, and they get what they can out of it. But anyway, he looks at me and says, oh, man, I wish I didn't have to play. I'd love to be here when you go through. And I went, yep, okay, well, that's calling me on my talk, isn't it? So part of me wanted to chicken out. I fully admit that. But then I went, Kaz, you have never walked away from a challenge yet. We ain't starting now. So, another thing is the reason I wasn't going to stay at the game because I was feeling really tired and I didn't want to have to get dressed to go out in public. So, of course, it's going to be the time that I'm going to be out walking around in public. Anyway, I got my daggiest outfit on, no makeup, hair all crap and, these flappy Ugg boots, for around the house with half the sole missing. And so I was just laughing at myself going, oh, man, you picked one. You set it up really good, Kaz. So anyway, I dropped my son off and I drive very slowly back along the road towards the breathalyzer because I realize the full import of what I'm about to do. I mean, there's a lot at stake. My daughter's at home with a friend on their own. My son's at basketball. He's picking up in a while. And I have no idea how this is going to go, in terms of how long. Now, I knew that what you talked about with the name Kate is 100%. I know it in my heart. When I first heard about it, I think it was Michael McCracken's Wolf Spirit interview that you did with him, I don't know, a year and a half ago, whatever it was. When I first...
One of the best interviews I've ever been able to say I took part in. Yes, it was beautiful.
Yeah, shit, I've got really bad lag here, mate, so if I talk over you all, I'm really...
Oh, good, just carry on.
We were on his show. It's not that great one you did with him when he came on with you. It was a lot before that. I think just right around the time you went to Critical Mass Radio. Anyway, when I heard you on there, I identified with you so much I can't even say, and so I immediately jumped, over and started researching what I could find out about you, and the name thing it was like a clarion call to me because I knew I knew the answer was simple. I mean, you know, you look at the complexity of things and then you think about the simplicity of the Trinity, for example. You know, everything comes from nothing, but it manifests through the Trinity. I've got all kinds of ways I've worked on this. I've got thousands by now pages of, you know, my own writings and research and essays and all that. So I've been working on this actively for a really long time. By the way, I also did the phonics thing. I used the Greek alphabet to break down what I called the sound codes. I don't know when it was, 2009 or 10 or something. And I was so excited when I heard you talking about phonics. So it was really cool. So there were a lot of, you know, coincidences, synchronicities, and it held, you know, the name on the certificate of my birth, and I can say that honestly. It's my birth, and it's a certificate attached, is Karen, and that's Kate, you know, Catherine, and it means pure, and I've always laughed at that because, you know, hell, you know, my halo slipped down around my ass so many times I can't say, but anyway, try and prop it back up once in a while. But anyway, so there's all this stuff, and I just knew with the name thing, it had to be simple, and it is. But the thing is here, guys, the name is another symbol. And for me, what I had to do is go anagogic on the anagogic on the anagogic on the name to really understand what is it about the name that's so significant that it can entrap us. You know, because this system, to my mind, has been set up very deliberately to entrap us. And guess what? I did it. It's my system. I'm infinite consciousness. I know this. So I created it. So I need to dig deep inside myself to find what's the connection, what's it all about. And the years worth of work that I've done showed me on many levels why the name is the key. So anyway, as I'm driving along, I realize this. I know this in my heart, in my soul, in my mind. I know the name is the key. I also know the truth of who I am. So I'm driving along and very slowly trying to sort of, you know, center myself and go, okay, here we go, Kaz. This is it. You're on the stage. And I pull up into the breathalyzer. Now, I've never been through a breathalyzer. I've lived, you know, I was born in New Zealand, and I lived in Australia on and off for, you know, over a decade. And we've had random breath testing here for a long time. I always thought it was bullshit, and even way back in the day. And I hated the thought of going through a breathalyzer, but I'd never been through one. So here's another one of my kind of, you know, old fears that I wasn't afraid of anymore, but it was still something I needed to face. So it was perfect for me that it was a breathalyzer that brought this on. And like I said, I don't even really drink. Once in a blue moon, someone hands me some, you know, champagne to celebrate a birthday. That's pretty much it. So it was nothing to do with I'm trying to hide anything. Quite the opposite. I felt the need. It was a heartfelt desire to proclaim myself, I suppose, to account for myself. And I knew this was a public way of doing it. So anyway, it's this sort of, you know, really a bit trippy, you know, mind space that I'm in, heading into it, and I pull in. I've got my window down because I want to be seen clearly, and I put my head out, and as I slow down and pull up, I go, "Hey guys, how's it going?" And they kind of look at me and go, "Oh, good, yep," and then they wave me over. You know, they got this blue stick thing, and they select people and wave them over. So I got waved over. I knew I would be. And the bad, I call them bad cop because they did a bit of a good cop, bad cop routine on me. They pulled a lot of stuff. I'll go through some of it anyway. So he walks up to the window, and I look at him and I say, "No name here, mate." Now, it's a joke because, honestly, I thought that was going to frickin' work, eh? You know, hey, it worked for White, but it did work for me. So I'm going, okay, the game on. So he says to me, he looks at me strangely and he says, need you to identify yourself. And I said to him straight away, I said, I know you need a legal name to have authority over me. I don't have a legal name. And he says, well, I need to know who you are. And I says, well, I can tell you who I am. I'm right here. And he says, then he gets all officious. I'm blah, blah, blah from Maroochydore, blah, 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 squad, whatever. And I said to him, sorry, I didn't catch that. So he says it again, and I still don't really catch on to it to this day. I don't know who he really was. Still sounds like gibberish. So at some point he says, the prisons are full of people with no names, which, you tell me, Kate. Is that a blatant lie or is that a blatant lie?
Absolutely. Fear porn.
Yeah. So I kind of look at him, I go, oh, really? Anyway, he says to me, okay, pull over into this parking, the parking spot over here, because I'm still sort of in the middle of the road. And so I go, oh, okay, sure, no problem. Pull over. And then the interrogation begins. So he walks up and of course, he's trying to get the name. What's your name? So I tell him, I can't give you a name. It isn't owned by me. And if it's not mine to give, how can I, in good conscience, give it to you?
Oh, are you there?
And furthermore, I'm enticing you into aiding and abetting fraud, and I just can't do that either. So, he kind of looks at me. There's a bit of a pause then, and he's a bit taken aback. So, by this time I'm sort of joined by a couple of others. They're wandering up to see what's going on. And, by the way, around this time, I overhear, a conversation sort of behind him and around, and the end of result of it was not real loud, but I heard, yeah, it's recording. So I know I'm being recorded. I mean, I know that anyway. They record everything, so what the hell. But anyway, that's sort of official statement that I'm being recorded by the system. So this is another part of why I need to speak really clearly about this, because, it's not only the universe looking at me. I know that's permanent, but the system has a recording of what transpired. So, it keeps me on my toes. So anyway, I'll do the best. It's a general recollection of what happened, not verbatim or anything, but in the general sequence. I actually sat down last night and wrote it out best I could to sort of guide me as I'm telling you all about it. So anyway, again, what's your name? Well, and I say, haven't you heard about this? It's global. And he says, ma'am, what's your name? I say, I can't be named. What are you called? Well, I call me. I suppose you can write that down if you like. And he looks at you and looks at me and he says, well, I need to see your license. And I say, well, I can't give you a license. And he says, do you have a license? And then I say, well, in all honor, I have to say I don't own a license. Where's your license? You can't drive on Queensland roads without a license, blah, 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 legal this, freaking code that. And I wait for him to finish. I just let him finish. And then I say, well, obviously I can, because here I am. And he kind of looks at me like, oh, shit, I've got one here. So he says, well, have you ever had a license? And I say, well, all that's in the past. And I live here now. Okay, so new tack. Do you own this vehicle? No. Who does it belong to? My father. Well, he may think he owns it, but apparently, because it's registered, it's owned by the Crown Corporation. What's your father's name? Mate, I can't give you any legal name. What's your mother's name? I can't give you a legal name. Now, he's running the plates, right? He walks over sort of pretty pompously and, yeah, I can get it off the registration. And I go, well, okay, yeah, I know that. So he does the run on the plates, and he states the legal name that ostensibly is attached to my father. So I shake my head and say, in all honor, I can't say that that is his legal name. So then he does the same thing for my mom, and I say the same thing again. So then the good cop, this is one of the others, there's three of them there. There's the Trinity. Mostly they kind of come and go, but generally there's three of them. The one I'll call good cop reaches through the open window and turns off the engine, which apparently, when I've told people here in Australia, they cannot actually do that. So, apparently, I don't know the legal system that well in Australia. I know it better in America. I spent 20 years there, so that's more my strength. But anyway, people here, when I told them we're stopped, he actually turned the engine off because apparently, as they understand it, you have to do it. But anyway, I just smile gently at him, because really I don't care. He saved me the trouble. He could have asked me, and I would have been happy to do it, actually. But anyway, so he says, we're just trying to keep the roads safe for you. So I look at him, and I say, yeah, I appreciate you feel that way. I really do. I know you put your lives on the line. But, I was in the middle of a 10-car pileup on a freeway once, and I was the only one who made it out unscathed. The vehicle I was in wasn't even scratched. Well, there was a black rubber mark on the rear bumper where the car behind me grazed off it, but I just brushed it off. And so the cops, the three of them, are standing there looking at me, and then they're kind of going, wow, really? And I go, yep. And they go, oh. And so then they go, well, where do you live? And I hold my hand against my chest, and I say, I live in my heart. Don't you live in the house? Again, I say, I live here. Everywhere I go, this is where I live. Then they ask me, well, where have you been, and where are you going? And I just kind of smile at them. I figure that they don't really need to know that. I just smile, and then one of the cops, I don't know which one, opens the driver's side door of the vehicle. So again, I just smile. Anyway, so at this point, the crazy kind of starts setting in big time. There's the third officer. He's a very young officer. He looks like a rookie, and he's got his big flashy, and he's circling the truck, flashing the light right through the whole thing, as they do. And I turn and just watch him do it. Now I know that my bag is sitting, or a bag, my bag is sitting on the front, pretty much on the front seat, full view. And as I was pulling up, I know what's in my bag, right? I know what it has all this stuff, and I could have hidden it under the seat. I could have done a lot of things, and I went, nope, I'm not playing it that way. Full disclosure, I'm patenting myself here. This is it. So I'm going to push it to the limit. Whatever happens, happens. I'm just standing in my truth, and that's. And by the way, throughout this whole thing, I am so calm. I never got a rise. You get that sort of fear, sort of panic sensation in your gut. I never got that. I just sat there. It was almost like I was in a bubble, because I knew me. I knew my integrity, and I felt it at the time. So I felt very protected. So anyway, there's this young cop comes along, with this flashy, and there's a bag. And the bag cop says, oh, a bag? And he goes, yes. And then he says, oh, is that your bag? And I answer, I honestly can't claim to own anything. So that kind of slows them down.
Brilliant.
They look frustrated.
Brilliant. Oh, no, that you have no idea the swath that you just cut through their consciousness.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Carry on.
Yeah. I know it, mate, and that's why I said it, because this is my truth. I will not claim to own anything.
This is for everybody. Remember that. So anything that comes out that has got the beautiful subtlety, I want to make sure that everybody is hearing their point of view properly.
Yeah, thanks for that. Well, it definitely reached them, right? So they're starting to look pretty frustrated at this stage, especially, quote unquote bad cop, the bad cop character. Anyway, so he finally says, "Get the bag."
My radio.
Now again, apparently in Australia, anyway, they're not supposed to reach in. You need to hand them the bag. So again, they've trespassed, right? So anyway, get the bag. So Junior grabs the bag. He rifles through it and comes up with wallet. Which he holds, and then he places his bag on the hood of the truck in front of me. And he goes, "Aha, I found a license." And I smile. And then he looks at it and reads it. He's, "Oh, it's expired." And I go, "Yeah, it's dead." And then the bad cop gets a hold of it, and he starts punching, shit into his little tablet, his little computer thing, and He's like Cheshire Cat at this point. And then he looks up at me and announces, he says, "Oh, I see you have a current driver's license." And I say to him, "In all honor, I cannot claim that because it doesn't belong to me, and neither does the name." So the bad cop steps back to the open door, and I say, "I'm not a body. My body is my vehicle." And then he pats the truck, the door of the truck, and he says, "Well, this is a vehicle too." And I say, "Yes, it is, and obviously I'm not the truck either." And he kind of looks at me and it's like, "Oh, yeah." And then I say, "I am no thing. I am pure consciousness, which is no thing." And they're all standing around again. They've all gathered, by the open door, which, by the way, when the door opened, it was like I'm sitting on the edge of this massive precipice. I mean, it's not that far to the ground, but it feels like forever. It feels like I'm in a plane, and that's just air out there. It's a really strange feeling. I can't even describe it. But anyway, so I tell them, they're all standing around looking at me, and I say, "Guys, I didn't have to come through here tonight. I saw you on the way to where I was going, and I deliberately came back through. I could have driven around, but I'm not just doing this for me." I said, "I'm doing it for you, too. It's for everyone. No one left behind." Now, this really got their attention, really shocked, and it's kind of like, "Really?" And I just nodded and smiled. So,
Oh, it just got quiet. Not hearing you, Kaz. A little caller issue. Okay, and by the way, guys, just to let you know, I muted all the mics out because there was some noise going on, and better that this doesn't get interrupted anyway while the flow was happening. Pure download. Are you there again, Kaz?
Yeah, mate, still here.
Okay, carry on, sweetie.
All right, so he's got this breathalyzer in my face, and I look him in the eyes, and I say, "I'm sorry, but I can't do that. If I do, I give you my authority. And in all honor, I just can't do that. I am my own authority. I'm the author of my own stories. And that's my lore, right? LORE, LAW, whatever you want. All these laws that we have, they're stories, guys. and this is a key point, then this goes to the accounting. We recount our stories. There are layers and layers of meaning in this. So I really, I needed to have this said, just to put it on the record on the night. So he says, well, I need you to get out of the vehicle. And I said, well, I'm sorry. If I get out, I give you my authority, and I just can't do that. So now the arrest threatening starts. I don't know, it was a failure to identify, something like that. And he says, get out of the vehicle. So I say, well, is that an order? And he says, yes, it's an order. And I look at him, I say, well, are you willing to pay the bill? And he looks confused. So I say, well, whenever we order something, there's always a bill to pay, isn't there? And then he says, very frustrated, oh, we're just going round in circles. And I thought to myself, well, yes, you are. But I'm just sitting here very still. Anyway, that's all in my mind, that part. So then he threatens me with another charge. I don't know, driving without a license, blah, blah, blah. And then another one, because I just sit there and smile, nod and say, I hear you. Resisting arrest and, then obstruction. And then finally I keep saying, I hear you. I hear you. And finally I say, I'm not willing to obstruct anything. I'm sitting here. I realize you'll do what you feel you have to do. I understand that. It's okay. And the good cop then says, do you have a cell phone? What's the number? And I just sort of smile at him. And actually, I don't even have a cell phone. But anyway, I didn't even say that. I just looked at him. And he says, do you know the number of your cell phone? Actually, they call it mobile phone. Mobile. Do you know the number of your mobile? And I just simply shrug and smile. I don't even have one, so how can I know the number? Anyway, so have you ever had your fingerprints taken? And they go, well, does it really matter? I know you have no authority over me without a legal name. I'm not a name, I'm not fingerprints, and I'm not DNA. So then he kind of looks at me, and every time I give them an answer, it's almost like their eyes roll and they go, oh, shit, oh, shit. So they lost that one. It really was like a weird game. Anyway, so I say to him, hey, Google Kate of Gaia. That'll help you out. And then he looks at me and he pounces. He said, is that your name? And I just laugh. I say, mate, the only name I can truthfully claim as mine is the vibration that I emit, which changes all the time. And since I'm infinite, well, how long have you got? And anyway, how can you write that down? So he kind of looks at me again and just sort of a bit puzzled, amused, or whatever. And then I ask him quietly, do you have a name? And he goes, yes. And I go, oh, right, and nod, and just let it kind of hang in the silence for a while. So then the cop says, I'm going to have to arrest you, and, you're going to have to spend a night in the watch house. He's acting all like he's got my welfare, at heart. They're not nice places, and you don't look like the kind of lady that should be in a watch house. That's what they call holding here in Australia, or at least in Queensland.
Yeah, Kaz, one sec, just to
yeah.
We've got 90 seconds to roll over, guys, so if you want in, there is room for a couple of people. And I just want to reemphasize something that Kaz just said there. These guys, it's really simple. They're basically asking you, do you want to play a game? And we're saying, no, I know how your game works. I won't pick up the gun so you can shoot me in the forehead. And they'll pull every stunt until they get you consent to be the name. Everything they are saying, it's powerless, it is worthless, it is empty, it is absolute bullshit. And that's exactly where I was sitting the night I ran the 3 off. So I just want to really bring that point home, Kaz. Thank you for illustrating it so well.
Yeah, worries, mate. I totally understand what you're saying. And again, the calmness that I felt. It was like I was in a cocoon, and I knew with all this stuff they're saying, I know is bullshit. I know it is. And I know, this guy's saying, oh, you won't like it in the watch house, da-da-da. It's really rough in there. And, and I'm thinking, mate, if I give you a name, you are going to put me in the watch house. If I don't give you a name, you can't. So I know this. I don't even bother saying it. I'm hoping, at this point that my looks are, and are letting them know, communicating that I know what you're doing and I'm not falling for it. So anyway, he says, it's really rough in there and da-da-da-da-da, and all the guys are standing, all the guys are standing around, at least the three of them, maybe four. And I look at them all, I sort of calmly, quietly look from one side to the other of this group, and I say, I once had an electrical cord wrapped around my throat. And, well, as you can see, I'm still here. And I said, do you know how I managed to survive that? And there was just like silence for the longest time. Their eyes were pretty says very quietly, he says, points to me gently and says, you. So I nod and I say, love. So again, that's another one that kind of that floored them. I mean, and this is my truth. I'm not blowing sunshine up their asses. I know who I am. I've peeled back the onion layers. I know me. I know my truth, and I am love. That's all that's there at the core of me is pure conscious love. So anyway, Bad Cop's got home base on the line, right? So he's talking to them because of the name they found, right? The valid license. And, to be honest with you, Kate and everyone, when they found the name, I was actually perfectly happy because this is the joinder that they're looking for, and if they can pin it, they're going to pin it, and, I know they can't because I know it's not me. I know I don't own it, and it doesn't matter what they say. It doesn't matter if they arrest me. I know, and I don't know what you call it, universe, whatever the hell name you want to call it, it's me, all one, and no thing knows that I know. So who am I proving it to? It's already understood. All I have to do is sit there in my truth, and that's it. So anyway, we're getting towards the end here now because there's a lot of talking on the other end of the phone line with this cop, and just a few sort of grunts this end, not a lot of conversation. He's listening. A lot of kind of toing and froing, but most of the talking is happening the other end. And all this time, the others are walking away, coming back to me with another try. This is sort of ongoing. At one point, they begin to swap out for some reason I don't understand with the crew that's still manning the breathalyzer station. But then they change their minds and they all turn around and go back. I don't know what the hell was up with that. Maybe you.
I can tell you what that is. The amount of money that goes into programming these automatonic robots to follow the codes is a very expensive process. And what you are doing effectively while going through this is you are deprogramming and busting. You see, all the seeds that you are planting are all questions now raised at whatever level of awareness these bad cop, good cop gamers are at. You have planted the seeds of truth, thus giving doubt to what their masters are telling them, because of what's happening here is with every answer you are giving, they have no rebuttal. So when they're talking to their master back at home base, the master at home base is now in a position to expose things. Well, no, you can't touch her because you need the legal name. Well, why do you need the legal name? Grunt, whatever. And what you've done here is created a tsunami. So this is why they stopped swapping them out, because you were making it really expensive and really difficult for that particular pre-synced, already sunk division of police. And one comment you made earlier about driving, you need a license to drive here in Queensland. Well, Queensland's a corporation. I just drive on the ground. I mean, it's ground. I don't care what you call it on a map anywhere. It's just ground. Not a. Anyway, just wanted to. That's why they wouldn't let any more come over. They were tired of. You were at that point where you were completely destroying the programming of anyone that was now coming into contact with you. That's why they restricted it to probably the original ones. So carry on.
Yeah, that really rings a bell with me, mate, because I knew I could feel the seeds of program destruction as I was replying. Now I'm very considerate and slow with how I speak as I'm talking to them. It's like there is a witness watching me in my own mind, watching me and guiding me to say the right thing, because my intent is pure, to stand in truth and reveal myself. And I've got this guardian energy that is me, but it's sort of separated out and it's watching me, making sure that I'm not saying anything that's going to cause trouble for me, right? So it was an interesting dynamic, and there was a lot of pausing, and I'm telling it in a totally different cadence from how it actually went down, of course, but I'm doing my best. But yeah, no, that resonates with me so beautifully, hun. And this is part of the integration of this. I'm still integrating it. It was big. It was big. I know this. I know how big this was cosmic, actually. I know that it is. But anyway, we're nearly at the end of the actual setup for this. I overhear the bad cop saying on the to home base, well, she's not wearing glasses. I can get her on a, he kind of trails off and then listens. Then he goes, okay. And then he kind of stands there for a bit, and then he slowly walks over to me, and he says, like he's doing me a favor, of course, still holding on to the illusion to the last. Well, I'm letting you go. And I just nod and smile knowingly. Well, of course, no thing is all I am. So, and then...
I got Kaz, you know what, at that point, this is me, though, what I said? No, you're not. You just got your marching orders. Now you're really confused as to why you have to let me go, because you have no jurisdiction, because you're dead, jurisdiction, because you have a name. You already agreed to that, whereas I'm living, and you might want to have a look at that to see how enslaved you are. But listen, I love you anyway. You have a nice day. That's just me, though. Carry on. This is beautiful. I love this.
Yeah, that's definitely you, darling. Yeah. Well, you know what? With my intent.
Oh, hon, you did it perfectly.
I was saying.
I was sharing another. This is the Kate viewpoint of how, the ranty bitch mouthpiece Kate, the ripping knickers off type. That's me, right?
Oh,
I'm just showing you did everything perfectly, absolutely perfectly. I just love to take these points.
You're lagging bad, mate. I didn't.
It's all right. It's all good. You carry on. You're doing magical. You changing the universe right now. Keep changing her.
It's one of the things I love about you. You're not shy in coming forward. So anyway, with me, I'm sort of more the silent. Well, I talk storm. Just ask my family; they just go crazy with it. But at times I can be very quiet and still. And so I had the power. I felt the power. It was flowing through me. And that was what was protecting me. It was the truth that was and is my power. I'm willing to patent myself for all the world to see. There is nothing about me that you can't ask. There are things that you might not really want to know, but I don't know. We won't into that, but if you ask, I will tell you anything. I've got nothing to hide, and but I just wanted that sort of. I wanted to leave the space for the dawning to happen from within these guys. That was my quiet. It was almost at that moment like if I would have said something like that, which I could have said.
Again, hon, you said it perfectly.
I would have sort of inhabited the space that they were that their minds were filling with their own thoughts to that same exact effect. You know what I mean? So, it was fun. It was kind of fun sitting there in that silence and just watching it happen.
Well, here's another thought, and for anyone that if you want to play in this game, because once you truly know this, truly know this, well, ma'am, we're going to have to let you go. And I just look at them with a big smile on my face and go, why?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Why? Why? I'm enjoying our conversation. Why?
Yeah.
And what I'm doing here, honey, you did it. See, this is the thing. Creation is perfect. Once you accept all things, I'm listening to you as I'm watching all of the universe surround you. So it's not seems to be in a bubble. I am seeing this perfect, absolutely perfect protectional sphere around you of Mama saying, "You touching my baby? I take out of you fucking eyes," that kind of thing, and it's just beautiful. So no, again, when I add, it's not to detract from what you're saying. You did everything perfectly. I know this. That's why we're talking right now. I just like to throw a few other different perspectives of, hey, wait a minute, that might be an interesting thing to ask, just to carry on and play, but. Carry on. Finish this off, hon. You have changed so many things in this reality. I guarantee you this is going to be a heavy, heavy downloaded episode. And well, it should be, because you need to hear truth in pure motion. So I cannot thank you enough for coming on. Continue.
You're welcome. And mate, I'm really not, I hope I don't sound offensive, because I'm not being that at all. I'm just honoring the way you do things and just presenting another point of view, that's all. So, I'm not defensive at all. I know who I am, mate. It's all good, darling. Anyway, so at this point, we're nearly over the whole thing. Well, they've let me go. Someone says, one of them says, "Oh, don't forget your bag," because it's still sitting on the hood. And someone, I don't know who, picks it up and hands it back to me. And I go, "Oh, thank you." And as he departs, a good cop says to me, sort of finger pointing, still holding on to the illusion, of the authority and control that they clearly do not have. Next time, make sure you have your license on you. It's like, he's a friend giving me good advice, and, and give your name. And then he says, and this is significant, he says, "or a Milko." And I look at him, I go, "What?" I said, "What's a Milko?" And he kind of looks a bit sheepish and says, "Oh, it's someone else's name." And then I just look at him and I shake my head.
That goes right back to Sheena. See how this connected tonight?
Yeah.
They don't care if it's your name, as long as you're committing some false impersonation somewhere. You are, again, this is go back to the commandments about bearing false witness against a neighbor. So if you give someone else's name, you're bearing false witness. So you're breaking the magical commandments right there. This is beyond magical tonight, Kaz. And I'm going to get the mics open now as well. I'd love to get Shaina jumping in here. Just going to give me a second here, because do you guys see the perfect connection between both your experiences? I can see it. I feel it. It's beautiful.
Well, I had terrible Skype lag, and I missed half of the show before I came on, so I'm just glad I managed to get through pretty much what I wanted to say without dropping out. But yeah, and when he said that, I mean, I was just, I think for the first time that night, my mouth dropped down to the floor, to the ground, and I looked at him, sort of frowning and shaking my head, incredulous, and I said, "Oh, so you're actually saying that you want me to impersonate someone else too?" And then he looked really sheepish and shrugged and left. And
honey, you've just shown everybody, and this goes right back to what I was saying yesterday about the elderly pensioner left for 8 years while the water, electricity, and gas and everything was still going. The only one that can break a legal contract is a dead legal fiction. So this is why I'm saying, if people... Now, listen, I'm going to give you a quick scenario here of what's the worst that could happen. Okay, so if you decide that one of your utility bills you don't want to pay any longer and commit fraud doing so, Just make, and again, this is a big step you can take, because at the end of the day, if you're going to pay it anyway, what do you got to lose? Well, truth, if you're not willing to look for it. So let's play the game for a little bit, shall we? So an example for someone that wants to see this for themselves, just stop paying for the electricity and the water or something. Just pick one of them. You know, and I'll tell you, the funniest one I did was, Bell Telephone on the landline. I stopped paying the landline bill because, they had screwed me over on internet, and I said, I'm not paying a dime into you guys. And this is going back a few years. And my phone was on for, at least two and a half years after this. And again, I still was in legal contract with some things at that point. But I thought it was really funny because they were calling, hi, we're calling collection agents or whatever, for Bell or whatever. And I just started to laugh and hang the phone up, right? And, of course, the phone got disconnected. So talk about cutting off your nose to spite your face. How the hell are you going to call me now, dope? So this is what I'm talking about. And it's so beautiful. So pick something. I don't care what it is. Pick something. And, just stop paying it. Like I said, what's the worst that's going to happen with you? What is the absolute worst thing that is going to happen? Well, you end up paying the bill if you still don't know who you are. But I assure you this, do not get nervous. Let the phone ring, whatever. Again, if you get call display and something that comes up, just don't answer it anyway. And even if they leave messages, it's not like they've gotten a hold of anybody to get a contract. And all they need is a name, an initial, or somebody that they can tag it to create a spiritual joinder. What was it called, Kat, that the cop said?
Sorry, mate, you've been lagging out. Which cop said what?
The Milo or something?
Oh, yeah, Milko sounded like.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't know, is that a reference to, the milkman, like a bastard child? I don't know, it was weird. I had never heard it.
Milko.
Maybe some of the Aussies know, the other Aussies know, I don't know.
Phoenician proves it out, Milko, which is milking duality. Remember the cosmic joke going on here, guys, that we've played on ourselves. We are one consciousness. I just get over the joke. So, and there's something, guys, lose the fear. Just take your baby steps, for crying out loud. You never know until you go. Just do. Guys, I put everything on the line as soon as I realized it, and I didn't at that point know exactly who I was. I just knew that I could not stand in a fraud or a lie or whatever, so I just stopped doing it. We go back 3 years with all this information I have now. I would be talking to you from a very happy home with Sue and my girls, and there would be no more foreclosures. There would be no more of this, no more of that, no more of the other. Okay, so that is that particular timeline, and it's all I see as happened is the game was elongated a little bit to unveil it on a grander scale. So I'm good. It's all good. So the experiences that we all have, I'll speak of myself. These are all things that it would be my wish to not have someone experience. And I can tell you the experience, and then you can decide for yourself if you want to experience it. And I'll start with the favorite, 28-day solitary. Would you like to experience that? And if not, you don't have to, because I already did, in that I am a point of you having already experienced it. So you choose which experience you want. And the only thing I can share from my experience is how to avoid the things that I experienced. You don't have to do it, but you got to get the concept fully. This is where you got to seek the truth within self. Any question you ask of me is one that you need to truly ask of yourself, because that's all I did. I didn't ask a lot of questions of other people. I just went digging for myself. Pretty simple. So, finish her off, Kaz. This has been most profound and fun. I love it.
Yeah, I keep dropping out, mate. So I don't know what's up with that anyway. Well, I'm left sitting alone in the vehicle now. At some point, one of the cops kindly advised me, your lights are on. You might want to turn them off. So at that point, they'd already been on for 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And I'm surprised there's any light in them, because it's a Nissan Pathfinder, and it's a real pig on the battery, and you leave the lights on. And there's a flat battery. So, the irony is, and this is the sort of anagogical on the flat battery thing in my mind. When I drove in there, that truck belonged to the Crown Corporation, and they flattened the battery on it. And when I finally got it the next day, it actually belongs, well, to me, my dad. In as much as you can own anything.
Well, isn't it funny? They couldn't feed on you, so they just fed on the only power source, the only battery cell they could, and named it. Funny that, eh?
Yeah, it was so beautiful. And, here I am in my daggy clothes as well, so I sit there for a while hoping that maybe I'll get enough juice if I wait a bit to crank it up, because this had been a good half hour that I've been sitting on the side of the road. In the meantime, I noticed that they were pretty much flagging people through the breathalyzer for the longest time. They weren't stopping anyone. So, oh yeah, that's cool. Anyway, so I got my daggy outfit on, my Ugg boots falling off my feet, so I have to take them off because the truck is not starting. And I'm looking at the time going, shit, I've got a bit of a walk ahead of me to get back to my, when I dropped my son off for basketball. So there's me getting out of the truck. And, as I walk by them, I say, hey, guys, I'm going to be needing to leave that there. It's not going to start. I wasn't asking them permission. I'm just informing them, just letting them know. And I got to go pick my son up now, and I'll be back in a bit. And then and one of them, they're still trying, mate. He says, because
yeah, what's your son's name?
Yeah, he was terrified to walk back by with me, but anyway, it was all good. So one of them, as I'm walking away, says, "Oh, just make sure it's locked, because here, if you leave your vehicle unlocked, they reckon they can give you a ticket," which, what the fuck ever. Anyway, so I just laughed and shook my head and kept walking. And I go down, it's quite a hike, and so I end up down there, and I sit and actually get to watch 10 minutes of my son's basketball game, and hey, he shot a three-pointer right in front of me, so, that was cool. Oh. And, yeah. Oh, excuse me. And so then I get him, and we got to walk back. I tell him what happened, and his eyes go wide, and I say, "Well, I'm here, aren't I?" And he goes, "Yep." And so I say, "Well, we need to go back to the truck and see. We have to walk by there anyway to get home, to see if I can start it. Maybe it'll start." I said, "Really, I don't think it's going to, but it'll be worth a try." And so on the way back, he's very nervous about walking back by the cops, because he's thinking, "Oh, then what if," he says to me, "what if they ask me? What am I going to say?" And I said, "Look, if they say anything to you, just say, 'No names here, mate.' That's all you need to say, and just keep saying it. But seriously, they're not going to. All they're going to do is say hi." And he's, not really believing it. But anyway, we finally get back there, and we walk up, and
perfect timing. Walk up and... Oh, wait.
I
say...
Oh, there you go. And walk up and... You dropped.
Oh, sorry. We walk up, and the cops really couldn't be friendlier, They're just like best buds of mine now. And I say, "Yeah, this is my son," and they go... "Oh yeah, hi. How are you doing?" And he kind of very quietly says, "Good." And so I cheerfully say, "Oh yeah, he shot a three-pointer." And they go, "Oh, cool, man. Yeah, that's great." We walk to the truck. I try it. Doesn't start, and then we head on home. So, that's pretty much the end of that part. Next morning, then there's the part with my parents who've been out to dinner. I'm a loser. I live with my parents. Anyway, so they come home. It's my dad's truck, as I told you. So, and that's the perfect setup, because now I have to tell them what happened. They've been very resistant to this information for reasons I totally understand. They've both devoted their lives to the system. They've been, upstanding people, reliable, honest, and they've invested everything in it. And it's so scary for them to face losing all of that. And my compassion is massive for them with that. So I understand, and I might not have told them what happened, but when they get home, there's a truck missing from the driveway. So they see it. And I know I'm sitting outside having a smoke waiting for them. And I know I'm going to have to talk to them. So, that was an interesting experience. My mum's got really nervous, and my dad pretty much didn't say anything. And,
Well, here's the irony in what you're saying. This is the perfect compliant slave to the system mentality, in that they're afraid of something because they fear that they might lose something. The joke of the matter is they have nothing, and it can be taken away because they have a legal name without any legal recourse. All covered in Babylon Has Fallen. No name, no game. No one gets to the Father but through me, baby. And anything that's attached to me, no one touches. And that's exactly the same umbrella you threw around your son. And congrats on the three-pointer. That's pretty cool. Right outside the what? Right outside the keyhole. The key.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, it's just a coincidence, right? Yeah, okay, that's what I thought too. So let's just ignore that coincide again.
Yeah. Oh, and the court, the whole thing playing on the court, layers and layers of shit, dude. I'm still trying to integrate all. It's just a laugh a minute, to be honest.
The fractal starts going,
yeah.
Oh, no, this is so crazy funny. And that's the joke, is those that are in fear and stay within the system are only aiding and abetting their own slavery. And whatever, it's the truth's out there. And don't worry, that new and improved version is going to show up in the timeline with every new aha moment that I get for me. And just the same with you. I get to be a new and improved version in your timeline. So if you're seeing changes in me, that's not because of me. That's because of you. This is this new and improved version of me in your timeline. See, it's a win-win all around. You just got to open your eyes and hearts to see it.